Hi everyone. Nikki, will you be able to share the PowerPoint, please?
Yes, will do. Oh, wait, hold on. Kidding. Not that. You guys see the PowerPoint?
It's a little zoomed in.
It's very zoomed in.
This one. How's that?
There you go. Looks good.
Okay, perfect. So hi everyone. Welcome to our first event, Road to Medicine workshop. This is hosted by the Philippine Premedical Association of Hawaii. My name is Irene and I am the president of Ppmah. Next slide, please. So for tonight, this is the agenda, just so you guys know what to expect. So first, as you can see, we're going to be doing introductions. You get to meet the speaker of the event as well as the PPMAH board. Second, you'll get to know more about this group and why we started. And then that's when we'll get into the Road to Medicine talk, which is led by Dr. Hazel Abinsay. And then we're going to end the workshop with closing remarks, a Q&A if time permits, and lastly, conclusions. Next slide, please. So now we're going into introductions. So first and foremost, I wanted to introduce our speaker for tonight, which is Dr. Hazel Abinsay. Next slide, please. Oh, next slide. Okay, so now I'll quickly just introduce the officers who you'll get to hear from at the end of the talk. Not all of them are here, but officers, if you hear your name, you can just wave. So we have Danny, who is our vice president. We have Jane, our secretary. We have Nikki, our treasurer. We have Carl, our historian. Anella, our webmaster, and Angel, our chair of community service. And lastly, we have Lynn, chair of communications. Okay, so about PPMAH, you can move on to the next slide. So PPMAH was established by a group of students under PMAH outreach in hopes of furthering PMAH's mission of reaching out to disadvantaged pre-medical students and developing future physicians. So, you know, as a group, when we started this, one thing that we shared in common is how we struggled navigating through this pre-medical journey, either through lack of mentorship, resources, and guidance. And so we created this group in order to build a sense of community among pre-meds. So next up is the PPMH membership. So membership is free. Once you submit your application, you don't have to renew it. But then of course, if you get accepted into medical school along the way, or please feel free to keep in contact with us and unsubscribe from our updates as you please. And despite our name, you don't have to be Filipino to join. This is open to all pre-meds across the state of Hawaii. So this includes high schoolers, undergraduate students, graduate students, and gap year pre-meds. They're welcome to join. So please share this organization to other pre-meds if you think they'd be interested. And you can find the Google form on our Instagram page at ppmah.premed.
So what can you expect from PPMAH? So here are some things you can expect from us. So we have mentorship, we have shadowing, we have networking, we have community service, and we have leadership opportunities for you guys. We wanted to share that by joining PPMAH, you can receive mentorship and find community of supportive peers to help navigate your pre-med journey. No matter where you are in that journey, we know that it's tough and sometimes you feel lost. And so that's why we are here for you guys every step of the way.
So, what makes PPMH unique? First, we work under our parent organization, Philippine Medical Association of Hawaii. better known as PMAH. We actually do have a few PMAH physicians in this Zoom meeting as well. So with that, you get to connect with the PMAH doctors. Second, we are connected with JABSOM Filipino medical students, PMSH. They are actually in charge of the PMAH and PMSH mentorship program. Third, mentorship is available through PMAH mentorship, and that is led by Dr. Hazel Abinsay and Dr. Emilio Ganitano. Lastly, we work closely with PMAH Outreach, so you can get involved in many community projects. And we will discuss all these 4 points in the following slides.
So starting with PMSAH or PIMSA, this is a group of JABSOM medical students, as Carl mentioned. They offer the PMAH PIMSA mentoring program where you can become a mentee and get matched with a mentor. This is a great way for you to receive insight to a life as a medical student, and you can seek advice in trying to apply to med school. Currently, mentorship applications are to be determined, so updates will be posted once available.
So PIMSA will be hosting an event called Approach to a Filipino Patient. They'll be covering topics such as basic words and concepts to recognize, the Filipino culture and important tenets, healthcare system in the Philippines, and patient encounters. So this event is going to be on May 13 at 5:30 to 6:30. So the panel includes 3 doctors. First is Dr. May Rose Dela Cruz. She's public health. Second, we have Dr. Gary Dela Cruz, pediatrics. And lastly, we have Dr. Melvin Palalay, who is hematology and oncology. So these are all Filipino doctors who will be talking about their experiences caring for the Filipino patient. And this event is geared towards medical students, but all are welcome to join.
Next, PPMAH is connected with the PMAH Mentorship Program. As you can see here, the advisors are Dr. Hazel Abinsay and Dr. Emilio Ganitano. Mentorship is available in the following ways on the bottom of the screen. So you can have application review, personal statement review and feedback, mock interviews, webinars, and networking with PMSAH. And if you're interested in mentorship, you can email us at the email listed below. So pmahmentorship@gmail.com.
So we mentioned PMAH outreach as well. This is an outreach group of pre-medical students as well as public health students that were established in September of 2020. And our goal was to bring together the COVID-19 awareness within the community and specifically towards like our ages, so the youth. And as we continue to educate the public on the issue, we've been also doing multiple projects on the side. So you can always check out PMAH Instagram and to see what we're up to. And our most recent project is in fact the COVID-19 vaccine that Carl did. And you can go ahead and check it out on our IGTV on PMAH. And next slide. So there are 2 outreach events that we are looking forward to. The first one is going to be the Be the Match in-person drive, and it's going to be this Saturday, May 1st, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Ala Moana Regional Park. So if you're interested, please come check us out or just come say hi. So we partnered with the Be the Match Hawaii, and our goal is to get the public to join into the bone marrow registry. If you're interested, you can check out our PMAH Instagram, and there's going to be 2 $25 gift card giveaways from Foodland and Rainbow Drive-In, so supporting local. And then on the right, we have our virtual open mic show. So this is exciting. This is our first ever fundraiser event that we're holding to kind of ask for donations and essentially build a fund that can allow PMAH to make scholarships for pre-med. So this can include the Mcat prep classes, application fees, medical school tuition is the big scholarship that PMAH is hoping to one day have and offer to pre-med students.
Okay, so now we are moving on to the Road to Medicine talk, which is led by Dr. Abinsay. So Nikki, you can unshare the PowerPoint and Dr. Abinsay will be sharing hers.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us. It's very exciting to always see new faces. I'm Dr. Abinsay. I am the mentorship co-chair along with Dr. Emilio Ganitano, who's on this Zoom with us. I'd also like to introduce, I don't want to do that. I also want to introduce Dr. Morel Ver. She's also on this Zoom. She is the current PMAH president. So just for you all know, I'm local born Filipina. Dr. Ganitano's local born Filipino. Dr. Ver was born in the Philippines, but very young came to Hawaii, and I'll have them share a little bit more about themselves later on. But I wanted to share with you the road to medicine. Okay, so when I had Irene tell me who is on this call today, we have a great mix. We have a great mix of some students that are actually starting college, their first and second years, and we have a bunch of you that are actually graduating this semester. But this talk is really geared towards just showing you from first day of college to becoming a doctor, what that road looks like. So some of this might be a little bit past for some of you, but really we're hoping to also help and gear and aim for the young ones. So road to medicine, this is what it looks like. It doesn't necessarily look like a straight line, but the first part is years 1 and 2, okay? So, sorry. Okay, so Dr. Ganitano and I have named the first 2 years a discovery phase. So this is what we call the 2 years where you just decide whether or not becoming a doctor is really meant for you. Because a lot of times as Filipinos, you know, our parents put a lot of pressure on us to go into the medical field because that's what Filipinos are good at. And they tell you, go become a doctor or go become a nurse. But how do you know if that's what you really want to be? So I want you to think that being a doctor is not the only way that you can be part of medicine. You could become a nurse. There's other fields called nurse practitioners, physician assistants, respiratory therapists, pharmacists, physical occupational therapists, social workers, techs. There's so many ways that you can be part of medicine that doesn't have to become a doctor. But unfortunately, a lot of you may not know what these occupations are like. So what is the best way to figure out what these different roles are? And it's called getting your feet wet, yeah? So hopefully most of you don't think medicine is like what you see in Grey's Anatomy. The best way to figure out what becoming a doctor is like and what the field of medicine like is in general is to, first of all, try to see if you can shadow a physician. That's probably the best extracurricular activity that you can get if you're really wanting to become a doctor. Volunteer in your hospitals, get involved in your community, find projects that you're interested in, whether it be the homelessness or women's health or pediatrics. There's other ways to do and practice medicine besides being in the hospital or clinical setting. Join your pre-med club. There's lots of opportunities there. And research is probably the other big thing you can do for opportunity. And so a lot of you might think that getting research might be really hard, but I just wanted to quickly show you that there's a lot of research opportunities available for you if you know where to look. So these are some of the big ones that are well known here in Hawaii: the Queen's, HPH, another HPH, the Cancer Center. There's another big one called MHERT. There's another big one called Europe, okay? These are summer research programs. And so a lot of times pre-meds have a hard time fitting research into their school year because you might be working and you have school. But summer is a great time to get research in. And so there are programs here for you. All the applications for these programs are usually due around the winter time before that summer. So too late to apply for this summer. Some of you, I hope, are actually getting into these programs this summer, but if you aren't, start looking into them next year or end of this year, actually. So research is a big one. Oh, excuse me, and then let me go back. And then this last line, quality over quantity. It's totally okay to not do a lot of things at the same time. I would rather see 3 experiences that you really dedicate yourself with and spend a lot of hours on, rather than like 20 things that you spend only like 2 or 3 hours on. Because those 3 experiences that you dedicate a lot of hours is more meaningful. Classes. So if you don't know yet, all med schools will require you to at least take these prerequisite classes: 1 year bio with lab, 1 year gen chem with lab, 1 year physics with lab. And then in your second year, you'll take OChem with lab. Not all schools, but some schools will require you to take biochem or math or an English semester. And I want to emphasize with you that you do not have to major in biology, chemistry, physics, microbiome, solid molecular to get into medicine. Actually, those students who major in something else like anthropology, sociology, arts, music, seem to be, they catch the eye of the admissions committee. So if you have a passion in some other field, please go for it. You can double major, or you can make that your main major and just do your prerequisites for med school. Now, in your first 2 years, please know what your cumulative and science GPAs are at all time. So science GPAs is basically just take all your science and math classes separately and figure out what that GPA is. And to be a competitive applicant for med school, the goal is 3.7 or higher. I know many of us aren't going to be there, but as close as possible, please shoot for at least around a 3.7. Okay, so now you've got your experiences, you've got your prereqs under your belt. So what is the next phase? So Dr. Ganitano and I call your years 3 and 4 your prepping for your application phase. During this time, you'll be taking the Mcat, which many of you probably have heard about. This is a 6-hour test that tests your knowledge in all those prereq classes, plus the humanities. So sociology, psychology, statistics, and then they have this section that is like the vein of our existence called critical analysis reasoning skills, for those of you that have already taken the Mcat called CARS. The range that you can score for the Mcat is between 472 to 528. And we, Dr. Ganitano and I, really encourage you to really shoot for a score of greater than 510 to become competitive. Again, in your years 3 and 4, keep up with that GPA. Just please keep up with that GPA. That's gonna be a theme throughout this talk. You're gonna continue your extracurricular activities that you were doing your first and second years. And from your extracurricular activities, you're gonna be able to get people to write you letters of recommendations. And your experiences from your extracurricular activities are gonna help with your personal statement. Now, you don't have to apply to medical school right away. You don't have to try to get into medical school. You can take something called a gap year. And gap years are actually A-okay. I understand that a lot of Filipino parents feel like taking a gap year might feel like you're wasting time, but we encourage you to apply when you feel absolutely ready. Don't feel rushed. If you feel like you're rushing the process, then it's not a good idea. You rather put in your best application when you are 100% confident that you've done your best, okay? So a lot of students take gap years to do master's programs. Some of them want to get more experience and they start working jobs. Some of them do Teach for America, so not necessarily medicine related, but it's community service related. So take gap years, that is okay. Medicine will still be there, okay? Just to give you an idea of what the timeline for applying looks like, if you want to start med school, say like next year, 2022, the application actually takes a year, a whole year. So you're actually going to turn in your application the year before. So the application opens in June and closes around October. We encourage you that you turn in your application as soon as possible, as soon as it opens. So let's see now. If you can get your application ready and submit it when they open in June or July, that's really the best thing that we can suggest for you. And after you turn in your application, some schools will send you secondary applications if you pass their initial screen, so it's more essays. Then they'll invite you for interviews if you pass their next screen, and then you'll hear if you get accepted between around the fall and the early spring. And then once you get into med school, this is where the fun begins, right? So then you'll learn all kinds of things. You'll learn anatomy, physiology, all the different diseases, You'll make great friendships, but one of the best things about medical school is that they're going to expose you to all the different types of doctoring that you can do. So you can see pediatrics and take care of kids. You can see adults and do internal medicine. You can help deliver babies in OB-GYN. You can do surgeries with Dr. Ver and do a surgery rotation. Then there's also psychiatry, and then there's also family medicine. So in your 4th year, you're going to decide which of those specialties you want to go into. And then that's when you do something called the match program that'll help you get into a residency. And so once you get into residency, oh, sorry, before I forget, in Hawaii, not a lot of students know this, but we actually have 2 medical schools here in Hawaii. So we have the well-known JABSOM, John A. Burns School of Medicine, which is an MD program, but there's also a DO program called AT Stills. I'm not gonna go into the difference between MD and DO, but just know that there's 2 med schools in Hawaii, okay? And then if you come from a disadvantaged background, there is a program called Imi Ho'ola that I encourage all of you to at least look into and become familiar with to see if that's a program for you. So basically, if you don't get into JABSOM and you did apply to Imi Ho'ola, it's a 1-year post-bac program, very intense, very rigorous, but if you make it and you pass, you actually are granted automatically a seat in the 1st year JABSOM class. So it's a great opportunity. So after med school, you go into residency. These are our 4 graduating Filipinas that are JABSOM graduates. So going in order, Lucia is going to family medicine, Leah is going to OB-GYN, Alizaga, Dr. Alizaga Norma is going to surgery, and Dr. Mayumi is going into pathology. So they're going to be starting residency very soon. Residency lasts anywhere from 3 to 5 years. And then this is where you get to focus strictly on the specialty that you want. So for myself, I chose pediatrics. So pediatrics, I trained and practiced for 3 years. Dr. Ver, she's surgery, she did 5 years. And Dr. Ganitano, he did internal medicine, and so he trained in 3 years. And then he chose to do a fellowship in critical care, which was an additional 2 years. Then after residency, you're a physician, you made it, okay? And so congratulations after you get all of that done. And so before I end, I wanted to share with you my final thoughts. So I've been mentoring pre-meds on my own for probably about 4 years, 4 or 5 years now. I came home from residency and I just remembered how lonely the pre-med journey was. And so I wanted to really see if we could make a community of pre-meds that could find support in each other, because I totally understand that the pre-med world is very competitive. Friends are not necessarily your good friends. It's, you know, you guys are always comparing yourselves to each other. And so it's a lot of mind games. And so I wanted to create a space where you could feel 100% supported. So what have I seen in the past 3, 4, 5 years of mentoring pre-meds is, one is they don't keep up with their GPAs, okay? Number 2, they rush studying for the Mcat, and when they do take it, they're not 100% prepared for it. They start extracurricular activities too late. A lot of students are trying to cram the Mcat, starting extracurriculars, trying to apply all in their junior year, and they want to apply right away. So that's a big, I think, a bad idea. And then not knowing what makes a competitive applicant. So what is a competitive applicant? I feel like a competitive applicant is a student that has a clear understanding of why they want to become a doctor. If you ask them, so why do you want to become a doctor? They're like, they just bring it at you, like, and it comes from their heart, and you can tell. They've had meaningful experiences under their belt to support why they want to become a doctor. They can tell you, like, I want to become a doctor because I have seen other doctors do this and that is what I want to do one day, okay? MCAT, again, I'm just going to remind you, scoring greater than 510 is ideal. Having a GPA that's around 3.7 or higher is great. And this is the stuff that we cannot teach you, but is so important to have as a person if you want to become a doctor. You have to be hardworking, you have to be eager to learn, service-oriented, and you have to be a team player. I'm sure Dr. Ganitano and Dr. Ver can add a lot to this, but those are characteristics that we feel make a good pre-medical student. So what can you do to help you? GPA again, create a timeline. When I say create a timeline, people who don't create a timeline will rush. They'll try to do everything at one time and they won't be ready when it's time to apply. But if you create a 4-year timeline and you know what classes to take, which semester, and you know when you want to take an Mcat, so you make sure your classes right before the Mcat are pretty light so that you have enough time to study for your Mcat, things like that. So make sure you sit down and create a timeline for yourself so to make sure you're prepared. Don't limit yourself with opportunities. That's something don't limit yourself with opportunities. This is something I preach all the time, meaning don't be afraid to go after that research opportunity or to apply to all these summer programs because you don't think you're good enough, or because your GPA you think is not good enough, or you just don't feel like you're competitive enough. You won't know unless you try, okay? So put yourself out there, get outside of your comfort zone. You won't know if you'll make it unless you try. And then lastly, find a mentor. Dr. Ganatano and I, we are very passionate about mentoring pre-medical students. We do this on our spare time, our free time. So we're more than happy to mentor. We feel like a good mentor is someone who's gone through this, who's gone through the Mcat, who's gone through the application, who's gone through med school. So we know what it takes and what it looks like to be on the other end. So I think this is a great experience and opportunity for pre-meds to be able to be mentored by an actual doctor. And again, finding a community of peers that will support you no matter what. Okay, and then that's it. That's my talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Abinsay. So now, Nick, if you could share our PowerPoint and we'll do some closing remarks. Next slide, please. Thank you. So now PPMAH officers will be sharing some advice and about especially what they know now that we wish we knew before. So next slide, please. Starting off, I'm going to call Lynn, who is our chair of communications.
Thank you, Irene. So something that I wish I had known is however much you put into something is however much you're going to get out of it. So even if you may not be doing like a lot of medical or healthcare related things yet, whatever it is that you are doing is still giving you like different types of experiences that you can learn different skills from, whether it be like time management or public speaking or anything really. So don't be afraid to try new things that you're interested in.
Thank you, Lynn. And next we have Angel, our chair of community service.
So echoing off of what Lynn was saying, try to look for as much opportunities as possible. Do things that interest you. So for example, I took a gap year and I am actually getting my master's degree in public health because I found that public health and medicine goes really well together. And I really liked learning more about health behaviors and social determinants of health and how can we address that, especially for marginalized communities. Because I do want to hopefully practice in a rural community one day, particularly in a community health center. So just finding as much opportunities that interest you as possible and make sure that you are passionate about that. I think that is the most important advice that I can give you.
Thank you, Angel. Next, we have Anella, our webmaster.
Hi, everyone. So I actually transitioned into becoming a pre-med in the beginning of the pandemic, which is interesting. And the biggest thing that I found that was helpful was that I made the initiative to kind of get to where I am right now. So I always have it in the back of my head how I got to a family relative who had a best friend in JABSOM and how she knew Dr. Hazel Abinsay. So to have that memory in the back of my head is something so precious to me. I will never forget it. And it kind of motivates me forward to see who else is my like network of who else is going to be part of my network. So I think that's my biggest advice, building your network early, because everyone's going to help you eventually. And here in Hawaii, it's small, so you'll get around.
Thank you, Anela. Next, we have Carl, our historian.
So something that I wish I knew earlier on was the mentorship programs. So there are a lot of opportunities to join these types of programs. So there's the the PMAH program as well. That's led by Dr. Abinsay. She's actually a mentor of mine as well. I also do have a mentor that's a medical student at JABSOM. So it's nice having a mentor because when you ever do have any questions, that's someone that you can just like text whenever you need to. You know, for them, they actually have the experience. It's nice having someone who is actually a medical student, who's going through the same process as you, who's been through the same process as you. We're all struggling to get to a point, and we all have, lots of questions, and it's just nice to have someone there to help you out and answer any questions that you have. So, yeah, take advantage of those mentorship programs for sure.
Thank you, Carl. Next, we have Nikki, our treasurer.
Hi, everyone. I agree with Carl. Being the first person in my family to go into college and have an interest in the medicine field, I've been lost my first 2 years of college, just to be honest with you guys. My first year, I told myself I had so much time in my hands, and I was like, I can just relax for this year, and I'll do everything the next year. But then the next year, this pandemic hit, so then everything, all my plans had changed, and so what I wish I had known earlier was like the timeline that Dr. Abinsay mentioned, to have that timeline and to have that mentorship that will help you to guide you all throughout your 4 years in college and also your gap years. And I think finding that mentor that will help you, I think, will be one of the ways that could lead you to whatever your dream is. And another thing I really advise is to take on any opportunities, like Dr. Abinsay said. Like for me, there was all these applications for the summer, and I kept telling myself, oh, I won't get in because I don't think I'm competitive enough to get in. And that really just hit me a few minutes ago. So yeah, I just hope that for you guys, take those opportunities, just get out there and do whatever you can.
Thank you, Nikki. So up next, we have Jane, our secretary.
Hi guys. So the main thing that I learned is just to not play the comparison game, especially because I have a lot of friends who are pre-med and we are all like in different levels. Some are already going into med school like straight out of college, and then there's me who decided I was going to take like gap years and then like somewhere along the way get into med school. So yeah, like what the rest were saying too, like really make all those connections and just take in any opportunities that you have. So I think that's why PMAH was such a helpful thing for me, because it connected me to Dr. Hazel and then all of the other pre-med students. And then it led me to like be a part of Ppmah, like the founding of this group. So yeah, like just if you have any opportunities that come your way, just don't be afraid to take them. And yeah.
Thank you, Jane. Up next, we have Danny, our vice president.
Hi guys, so my little bit is to own your story, because during the application process, you really have to sell your story. And so when I was putting together my own applications, I like had to really think back about all the activities I did. So looking back at 4 years is kind of a lot. So just also here and there, like write a little bit, like reflect on what you're doing at the moment. And whenever I interview for something, everyone's always interested in why I'm double majoring in Ilocano and why I had been an officer in our Ilocano student organization for so long and my experience with language. And so Like Dr. Abinsay said, you can major in anything, and maybe not all of your activities might be related to medicine. So you should go ahead and pursue your other passions because they'll definitely help you stand out. So just don't limit yourself.
Thank you, Danny. And lastly, I just wanted to end this with a couple of things that I know now that I wish I knew before. The first one is you don't have to major in biology to go into medical school. If I'm being honest, the only reason why I personally majored in biology was because that's what I thought you needed to get into med school, and all my other pre-med friends in high school also majored in biology, but I wasn't passionate about it. And I think that that's what took a toll on my GPA because, I took, random classes like ecology, and I wasn't very passionate about it. And then I didn't do so well. And so I think I wish I told my younger self that, to do something you're passionate about. And right now I'm really interested in public health, but it's kind of too late to go back, especially since I'm a graduating senior. And then second, gap years are okay. I remember I went to a pre-med advisor and she was a student. I think she was also a graduating senior, and I was telling her about all my struggles and, OChem and physics. And then she told me about gap years and building your resume. And I was like, yeah, sure. But in the back of my head, I was like, no. I think I was a sophomore or junior at the time, and I told myself, no, I'm gonna apply during junior year and then try to get into medical school right away. And then I think that was really hard because, like Dr. Abinsay mentioned, it's a year process, and at the time I didn't really know. I thought like I would get in like the same cycle or something, and so I wasn't ready for LORs, activities, and studying for the Mcat, and the Mcat itself is also a very long process. So right now I am gonna take a gap year, probably 2, and I feel very confident about it and less stressed. And it's right now, it's honestly really great for my mental health, especially since I found the outreach and Ppmah, and so having networking has been really great. The third is if you're passionate about going into med school, or when you know that you want to take the pre-med route, don't be passive. Don't wait till the last minute to better yourself as an applicant. Take advantage of resources, just like what Nikki was saying, and don't count yourself out. I applied like maybe once or twice in like sophomore year, and then I didn't get into the like HPH program. And then I was like, okay, I'm not going to do this again. I'm just going to get rejected. But something that I keep trying to tell myself is that try not to control the things you have no control of. Stop worrying about the outcome. Just do it. Well, I can't believe I ended it like that. But that's the end of my spiel. So in the next slide, we wanted to introduce Emily Akuba. She is the incoming JABSOM medical student.
Hi everyone, my name is Emily Erica Koba. You can just call me Emily. Just a little about myself. I was born and raised here on Oahu, but both of my parents are originally from the Philippines. I actually went to UH Manoa where I majored in molecular cell bio, and I also minored in Ilocano. And this past application cycle, I decided to apply for medical school, and I actually was accepted at JABSOM. So I'm going to be an incoming MS1. And Dr. Abinsay wanted me to come here tonight to kind of tell you guys that you are able to make it. I was able to make it, and I feel like I come from a kind of disadvantaged background because I am a first generation Filipino American, and I was a first generation college grad and the first person in my family to even just consider going into medicine. And I feel like what a lot of the officers have said, it's really important to find people who genuinely support you and want you to succeed. And if I were to have redone my pre-med journey, I would have definitely found a mentor a lot earlier. So definitely feel free to reach out to, Dr. Abinsay, Dr. Ganitano. You can also reach out to me if you would like, because now I'll be in medical school and I can kind of talk about the experience with that. And I think the best piece of advice that I can tell you is that there's going to be a lot of doubt in the road to medicine, especially as a pre-med. And I definitely had a lot of doubt myself because of the background that I come from. And I felt really lost. But I think that having doubt is okay as long as you don't let that doubt stop you from pursuing your dreams. And I think what helped me to get out of that doubt is to, again, lean on the people who genuinely support you, like Dr. Abinsay and some other mentors that I found.
Thanks, Emily. Irene, I'm going to introduce Dr. Bear and Dr. Ganitano. Is that okay? Okay. Let's go Dr. Bear first. Where are you, Dr. Bear?
Hi, I'm here. Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Morel there. I am a surgeon. I am current president of the Philippine Medical Association of Hawaii. I'm very excited for this new branch we have, the Ppmh. So I want you guys to also consider that how important this group is, because it's not just, you know, guidance for you guys in terms of how to get into medical school, but it's also a deeper meaning. You know, all you guys here are Filipino or care about the Filipino community, identify with the Filipino community, and Filipinos make up 25% of Hawaii, and yet there's not enough of us physicians here. And that's the big push to get you guys in early to know that, you know, medicine can happen for you. And, you know, for me, I was raised here in Hawaii, so I'm pretty much local. I did go to private school my whole life, but small private school, and my parents worked, you know, 3 jobs to get me there. So yes, I went to private school, but I still live in the neighborhood I went to. I still go to Filipino parties. I'm still around the aunties and the titas and the titos, so I get it, you know? And all of us have similar stories in that aspect. We all have similar kind of parental stressors and all this, you know, these things that come with being Filipino. So this group is special because along your journey, these also play a role in your barriers. They're going to play a role in your emotions and motivations. And because you guys are together and can relate to each other, I think it'll help all of us push forward, you know? So I think that's why this group is very important. I'd like to stress also, you know, don't be afraid to try new things. Don't be afraid to apply not here. Don't be afraid to try applying to other gap year activities in the mainland, because it just makes you stronger, right? And I always say every experience is a learning experience. You know, I agree with it doesn't have to be medicine in the gap year. You can teach, you can do community service, because as long as you're able to tell your story, to do why this made this experience you and made this experience made you a better person, that's what the medical school application committee wants to see. They want to see you, they want to see your motivation. And so I think it took me a long time to reflect on a lot of things about myself. I went to USC for undergrad, and you know, I was pretty much by myself there, and I had to like look for the pre-med people, and I didn't relate to them because I'm the kid from Hawaii, you know, and I'm not Latino. So it was difficult for me to relate, but I sought those people, and I kind of knew some sort of timeline. So no matter where you guys go, even though this is just the first step of your journey, keep asking questions and keep asking for mentors and keep those contacts. My friends from pre-med are still my friends, and they've gone through me for the whole process. So half went to medical school, other people found different paths. But every experience is learning experience. Every person that comes in your life is supposed to come in your life for a reason. So I would embrace everything you do and every person that you meet, and make it part of you and make you a better self. Okay, thanks guys.
Thank you, Dr. Bear. Dr. Emilio Ganitano, my partner in crime in all of this.
Hi. Can you guys hear me okay? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I did not go to USC, which is why I had to put my Notre Dame background in play. So my parents are from the Philippines. I'm local. I went private school just like Dr. Bear, but a different one because my parents worked hard to put, multiple jobs to put me there. I fortunately went away for undergrad. I lucked out in the sense that, at least on the undergrad level, we had a really great pre-med program, and we had a lot of support from within the people I knew and my friends. But I think one of the things we didn't have, which is an experience shared with a lot of our current med students, current residents, and a lot of you, is that prior to a few years ago, we really didn't have a good support system for pre-meds in Hawaii. And whether that's the fault of the university or just the fault of us as a medical community, is something that I think Hazel, me, Morel, and other physicians are trying to address. And I think, the global thing, which is the pieces are going into place, is really having a community that ranges from the senior physicians in PMAH to the, hopefully someday, I think the next piece for us is the residents, to the med students with PMSAH, and then now for you guys in the undergrad, and hopefully even earlier with the, looking at high school, and kind of creating this support community through various clubs, I think has really been our ultimate goal. So that people like yourselves coming up, you do have a sense of community. Because like for a lot of us, and working with Hazel, with a lot of you, a lot of the times, like, you don't know what to do, you don't know what to expect. You lean on your parents, but that's not fair, because your parents didn't go to med school for a lot of you, and they don't know what it's like to apply, and not their fault, but sometimes they give you advice that really isn't the best advice when it comes to applying. And so, not that we're trying to be your parents, but hopefully we can provide some context and, reality, I think, for a lot of you, so that you can make the right decisions moving forward. At the end, you have to make your own decisions and decide how aggressive you want to be in pursuing these goals. But at the same time, our goal is to make sure that you have a realistic view of what's in front of you, and that we can overcome that or not. And again, as much as I love being a physician, it's not for everybody. It's a hard job what we do. And you're gonna have to really search and decide for yourself, and really understand that if you don't become a physician, or you do become a physician, that does not define what you're worth, because your worth is whatever was intended you're worth. For some of you, may become a physician, and what kind of physician? It may be working with the underserved, or specialist, or primary care, but it's really, finding what drives you, what's meaningful to you, and knowing whether medical school is for you or not. And again, not judging your success based on whether you get in or not. I think that's an important lesson, I think, for everyone to take away. What I wish I knew when I was you guys' age, and I mean, I was fortunate because it wasn't a bigger problem for me, but I do see it being a problem for some people, is you really need to know that med school from the beginning, when you start undergrad, game on, because you cannot afford to make huge mistakes. You can make a few mistakes, but the more mistakes you make, it's going to be harder and harder for you to overcome that. So, Dr. Hazel talked, how many times you mentioned grades? I'm going to mention it 10 more times, because grades in Mcat is what gets you through the door. So don't underestimate how important it is for you to rock your GPAs from the beginning. So you really got to tell yourself, if you're first and second year, is this really what I want? And am I willing to put in the work to get it done? Because I've had advisees who think that if they failed if they got an F in a core subject, they can take the class again and they're going to forget about the F. And that's not the case, right? Because every single grade you have is going to be looked at, and it doesn't matter if you do 100 meaningful community service projects. If you don't have the right GPA, you're not going to get through the front door. So you got to understand that it's not the end of the world if you get bad grades, but you can't make it a repetitive habit, because for those of you that applied, and for, Emily that got in, it's competitive. This is the most competitive it's been in 30 years in terms of getting to med school. So you need to bring your A game. You need to apply with the best application you're going to apply. Don't just chance it, because every time you apply, they're going to look at your application and go, what did they change from last time? So get help, whether it's from us or somebody else. Put your best person forward so we can get, everybody can see your best person. But it is, we all like to think the world isn't a game, but sometimes it is. I mean, I'm the bad cop to Hazel's good cop, I'll admit it, but our job is to get you guys to where you need to go, and sometimes we need a reality check. So I'll tell 10 more times, grades and your Mcat scores, you need to kill it. You need to put in the time. You gotta, so many people apply to med school nowadays, and we want you guys to be competitive. We want to see your names being the ones that got people accepted, and that's our ultimate goal. So it's everything from all of this to you guys putting in the work. I think that's what you need to do to be successful. So again, we hope we can give you guys some support and some advice. I mean, advice so you can make informed decisions. I think that's really what the goal for us has been, so that you guys can approach this with the most information.
Thanks, Dr. Ganitano. I know it's almost 7, but in what space will you be in a room with 5 Filipino doctors at once? I want to also introduce Dr. Ligaya Stais. Dr. Stais, are you there? Hi. I wanted to see if you had just a quick few words to give to our students.
Yeah, I apologize for not logging on for the entire thing, but I've been here for the past, 10 minutes or so, eavesdropping.
You want to introduce yourself? You want to tell them a very short background?
Sure. So my name is Ligaya Stais, and unlike the 2 speakers that you just heard, I did not go to a private school. So I want to put that out there, because I think that is something that a lot of us that didn't attend a private school feel like it's a big disadvantage. And I want to just encourage you and say that by no means does where you graduated from high school determine, your future success, and more importantly, your future happiness, right? Your future happiness. I went all the way through my undergraduate level of education in a public system. I went to Hei'a Elementary, King's School, Castle High School, and Windward College, and then the University of Hawaii. And then I did go away for medical school. I enrolled in an MD PhD program at Boston University. So I was there for medical school and graduate school. And I can tell you a little bit about my journey through all that. I did my residency in anesthesiology at New York Hospital at Cornell. And then I did a 1-year pediatric anesthesia fellowship at Denver Children's, which was, really pretty phenomenal. I felt as I was going through that program that was kind of that was the pinnacle of my training and what I was doing. And it really was the culmination of really everything. Along the way, I did some fun things as well. Like I said, I was able to catch the tail end of some of your prior speakers. And I just want to actually add another layer to that. Definitely, Dr. Bear, I agree. True to yourself, have to be true to yourself, whether or not you end up in medicine. A lot of us have, or a lot of students that I talk to have external pressures about achieving, pursuing, being something. And it's really important that, the advice that's coming from all sides, that actually resonates with you, that you're not just doing this because of what somebody else thinks is going to be good for you, or because of what somebody else thinks is going to bring you happiness or success. That I feel is a really important thing that I just want to echo. And while I do believe that your grades and your MCATs are important, I would maybe kind of temper that again a little bit with activities and things that, again, that bring you some joy, that bring you that make you a little bit more of a well-rounded person. You know, getting into med school, while the numbers are important, it is not all about numbers. And I certainly think that the tide is actually changing a little bit. I've heard this from people that run both residency programs and medical school admissions on the mainland. I don't know if it's true for the University of Hawaii, but you know, their admissions committees more and more are looking for well-rounded people, people that can empathize, people that can communicate. And that isn't necessarily the person with the highest GPA or the best Mcat score. So again, I don't want to discount, but I also want to encourage you that if you're not at the top of your class and the honors graduate and whatnot, that there's still hope, because yeah. So I was not like the stellar student and the kick butt MCAT. But you know, somehow I found my way, and I found a niche. I found a profession and a specialty that I love, you know. So I think that those things are important, are really important as well. I thought about talking about an interesting case, but then the more I kind of read about what this advisory group was about, I sort of felt maybe it was a little bit more important just to share kind of my journey.
Don't worry about that, Ligaya. The interesting case is for the next meeting.
The what?
The next meeting that's happening right after this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Thank
That's
you.
good. Yeah, I guess I just wanted to talk a little bit, and Hazel, what's my time
So
frame?
actually, Dr. Sai, so thank you for your words. I'm gonna cut you, that's so rude.
That's
because
fine.
then I'm gonna continue you on our next meeting that's happening with a subset of our students, because this is
okay.
just the intro. This is the intro meeting.
Got it.
We're gonna do outreach next. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Dr. Stice. Dr. Mark Valdez, you just want to say hi really quick? Just say hi. My students are laughing.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, you guys want to see me too? Actually, no, I'm not ready for this. I guess just the biggest advice that I can give any of you guys is just, I mean, when I was applying for medical school, as great as Dr. Abinsay is now as an advisor, she was my advisor for she was my mentor for like getting into medical school. Like we really only had each other.
We're married, by the way. You gotta give the
married,
background. Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah. I thought everybody just knows that already. Okay. So yeah. So find a mentor that can help you, that can help guide you through this crazy journey that you're gonna go through. Because I mean, like looking back, I mean, it was a lot harder than it could have been, you know. Like I could have had a much easier time if I had some sort of like guiding light to help me go through it all. And yeah, that's it. You guys are really great.
Okay. Irene?
Yes, Nikki, if you could just share the PowerPoint one last time, I'll quickly conclude the workshop. Sorry we didn't have time for some Q&A, but there will be a survey sent out after, so if you have any questions, you can list it there. So, you know, thank you everyone for attending this workshop. I feel like this workshop went really great. So like I said, I will send out a survey, and if you could fill it out, we would really appreciate it. So for next step, as you can see, is the success stories, the series. So for here, you get to meet either recently accepted medical students or current medical students and physicians, so that you guys can get an insight to the different experiences in medicine. Right now, we are currently working to plan more workshops, events, and possibly virtual socials. We're also working on providing opportunities that you guys may find useful, so please be on the lookout for that. We will share more in the summer. Next slide, please. And so if you could please follow us on social media if you haven't yet. So our Instagram is at ppmah.premed. We also have a Facebook page. You could also visit our website. So for the first link, that is the Premed tab. And then right below it, so if you're interested in mentorship with Dr. Hazel Abinsay and Dr. Ganitano, you can visit the website. And if you have any questions, our email is right there. And I know that we provided a lot of contacts in here. So I will send out the presentation as well as the survey. And I just want to end on this last note, especially since I ended my spiel with the Nike slogan. But one thing the first doctor I shadowed when I shared my struggles about being pre-med, she told me, Irene, great things take time. And I didn't really quite understand it at the time. But I do now. I mean, I'm not in med school and I'm not a physician yet, so we'll see. But as a graduating senior, it's my 5th year, and now I'm going to enter another gap year. What I'm learning right now is to really enjoy the process. And so wherever you are in your pre-med journey, I just know that it'll be worth it. And that concludes today's workshop. Any last words, Dr. Abinsay?
I don't know if everyone is on. Like, would it be possible to take a picture?
Yes,
if you're on, would you be able to just share video really quick? We just want to commemorate our first meeting.
Nikki, you could stop sharing. Thank you.
Hi. I really like seeing faces. Hi guys. Okay. We'll just take that. Okay. Okay. I am not good at this. Who can screenshot this?
I can do it.
Okay.
I'm gonna mute myself, or otherwise you'll hear.
Hi everybody.
Okay, just let me know when.
Oh, whenever you're ready.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Everyone smile. Oh, wrong button. Sorry. Keep smiling. Okay, took 3.
Okay, thank you everybody. We hope you join PPMH. Follow us on Instagram. Bye. Okay, I'm gonna stop recording. Yeah.